When my family hid the wedding date from me, saying I was not fit to be seen, I pretended not to know, but when they arrived at the venue, IT was locked with my signature on the paper. My name is Emily Hart. I am 27, I live in Ohio, and I have a family that likes to smile for photos and hide ugly things behind perfect poses. I am the oldest daughter. I have a small web design business. I am quiet, soft, and I hardly fight back. People say I am too sensitive. My mother, Linda, says I am not a show person. She says I ruin things by bringing feelings to the table. I used to try to prove her wrong. Not anymore. The day my little sister, Madison, was supposed to get married, I stood across the street from the venue, inside my car, and watched white ribbons hang from the front gate. The building was a bright brick hall with big glass doors and a sign over the entrance that said Westbridge Gardens. The doors were locked. There was a thick silver chain on the handles. On top of the chain, a clear plastic sleeve held a printed notice. The notice was simple. It had one sentence, bold and calm. Do not open these doors until the authorized signer approves in person. Under that sentence was a blue ink signature. My signature. Emily, a heart. I watched the wedding party arrive in a white shuttle bus. I watched my mother step down first in a long navy dress. My father, Tom, climbed out behind her. Then the bridesmaids. Then my sister, Madison, the bride, with her glossy hair and her big, white, heavy dress. Everyone laughed. Everyone carried tiny bags. Someone pushed a rolling rack of suits toward the back entrance. Everyone looked happy, ready, loud. Then they saw the chain. They saw the paper. The laughter stopped. The wind moved the ribbons soft and slow, like the day wanted to be kind, but did not know how. Who would do this? My mother shouted. What kind of sick joke is this? The maid of honor pointed at the paper. It's signed, she said. It's Emily. All their heads turned at once, like birds turning to a sound. My car door opened with a click. I stepped out in a plain black dress and flat shoes. I did not wear makeup. My hands were shaking, but I let them. I closed the car door, tucked a folder under my arm, and walked across the street. The gravel crunched. My sister stared at me like I was a ghost climbing out of the ground. You knew the wedding date, she said, her face white. How? I stopped 2 steps from the chain doors. Everyone around us held their breath. The air felt tight, like the sky itself was watching. I put my hand on the plastic sleeve. I tapped the paper with one finger. I knew, I said softly, because you forgot who taught you how to hide things. And before anyone could speak, sirens wailed at the end of the road and blue lights washed the brick. 2 security cars turned the corner and slowed behind the shuttle bus, lights flashing, radios crackling. The first officer stepped out, looked at the sign, and then looked at me. Are you Emily Hart? He asked. I nodded. Then we need to talk, he said. That was the moment the ground under all of them shifted. That was the moment their plan fell through a hole they could not see. That was the moment I took back my face and my voice. But to understand how we got here, why the doors were chained with my name on the paper, you need to know what they did and why I did not scream when it happened. You need to know the slow, quiet steps that led to this loud, bright day. It started with a text that was never meant for me. It was a Tuesday night, 3 months before the wedding. I was washing dishes in my small kitchen when my phone lit up. A message from my cousin Brooke popped in. Got the final date, June 15th. Keep it hush, hush. Linda says we can't risk, you know who. Then a second text came quickly, the kind that people send when they realize they clicked the wrong name. Sorry, wrong chat. I stood there with wet hands, the water still running, the bubbles sliding off my fingers. June 15th. My sister's wedding date. My sister, Madison, who told me just a week earlier that they were still working things out and would let me know when everything is settled. My sister, who had started using the phrase small ceremony and limited seating and please don't be mad. I dried my hands. I called Brooke. She did not answer. I called again. No answer. Then a message came in from my mother. Emily, dear, we're still finalizing things. Please don't press. It is stressful for everyone. We will share when we are ready. When we are ready. I put the phone down and stared at the window. Outside, the streetlight flickered and hummed. I remembered being 8, standing by a kitchen door in our old house and listening to my mother tell a neighbor that I was sensitive and a little off because I liked to read to the plants and talk to the cat. I remembered being 12 and wearing a dress I loved to my aunt's birthday, and my mother pulling me aside to say I looked messy and not fit to be seen. I remembered being 16 and crying in a bathroom while my sister and her friends laughed about my skin and my shoes. I remembered all the times I was told to stay home if you can't act normal. So I did not yell. I did not argue. I took a breath, and I started to watch. People like my mother forget quiet is a power. They forget silence can be a map. When they think you are weak, they speak near you like you are furniture. They slip. They underestimate you. And if you are careful, you learn things. I watched social media. I watched vendors. I searched public calendars for Westbridge Gardens. On the venue website, there was a small public events calendar with colored blocks. Some said private. Some said City Arts Gala. One Saturday in June was blocked in soft gray, with no title. My mouse hovered over it. A tiny pop-up said, Hold, WG Main Hall Plus Garden. No names, just the hold. I called the venue. Westbridge Gardens, this is Ms. Parker. Hi, I said. This is Emily Hart. I'm calling about a possible booking in June. I think my family might have something pending, but I'm not sure how it works. Are you the point of contact? She asked. I smiled at the ceiling. I might be soon, I said. She paused. I can't give details without authorization, but I can tell you general policies. General is fine. She explained that a hold meant a soft reservation. It becomes firm when the deposit is paid. The person who pays the final balance becomes the authorized signer for day of access. If there's a change in the signer, they need a written request from the family or whoever controls the booking. If payments are late or contracts are incomplete, the venue can cancel the date or set special conditions, like requiring the signer to be present to unlock the doors. Security has been tight lately, she added. We've had prank calls, people trying to mess with events. So we sometimes add a chain and a notice if things look messy. A chain and a notice. The picture appeared in my head as if someone turned on a TV inside my mind. A chain, a clear sleeve, a paper, a signature. Thank you, I said softly. Over the next 2 weeks, I collected threads. Brooke posted a photo of a dress bag. The maid of honor tagged a florist by mistake and then untagged them. The groom's sister, Hannah, liked a post from a tux shop. Every detail fit like tiny beads on a wire. I scheduled a client meeting for the morning of June 15th, so no one could say I was making myself available to beg for an invite. I told no one what I knew. I still answered my mother's calls. I still listened when she said, You understand, don't you? You know you don't like crowds. You get overwhelmed. We just want a calm day. You just want a day without me, I whispered after she hung up. One afternoon, I saw the florist tag again. I walked into the shop 2 days later with a small bouquet order for a fake birthday. The girl at the counter smiled at me. Behind her, on the wall, was a big whiteboard with event names in colored marker. I did not need to read the names. My eyes found the date block. Saturday, June 15th. M. Hart/Westbridge Gardens for PM pickup. M. Hart. They did not hide the last name at the florist. They did not care that strangers could see it. It made me laugh in a way that sounded like coughing. The girl wrapped my fake bouquet in brown paper. I walked out with my flowers and stood in the sun for a long time, holding them like a gift for a person who would never come. The night before the wedding, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was my sister. She never texted me late. The message was short. Hey, big day tomorrow. Keep the house keys, okay? Don't bother coming by. We will send cake. Don't bother coming by. I put the phone face down and closed my eyes. I felt something inside me that I had not felt in years. It was not anger. It was not even hurt. It was a quiet, clean line of resolve, a straight road in my mind, a door I could walk through without shaking. I picked up my folder. I drove to Westbridge Gardens and met Miss Parker at the back office. I had called earlier and asked about securing the booking. I brought a cashier's check. I paid the final balance. Are you sure? She asked. This is a lot of money to put out if you're not the bride. I'm sure. I said, I'm family, and I'm tired of watching people pretend I am not. She studied my face for a long time. People who work in events can smell drama from miles away. They see the stories no one else knows. She finally nodded and slid the final page across the desk. Sign here, she said. That makes you the authorized signer. It means we will not open those doors tomorrow unless you're here to approve. And if anything feels off, we'll keep them closed until it's safe. I signed. My signature looked calm. My hand was not. Miss Parker added something else. We've had some vendor complaints, she said. Unreturned calls. Late paperwork. If our security sees miscommunication tomorrow, they will put a chain on the doors with a notice. It's become standard when we can't reach the signer. You will reach me? I said. I will be here. She gave me a thin smile. Then sleep. It will be a day. I did not sleep much. I woke at 5, made coffee, and packed my folder. Inside the folder were printed screenshots, text messages, the florist photo, the deposit receipt in my name, the contract policy with the authorized signer, rule highlighted in yellow. I put the pen I had used to sign beside it, a cheap blue ballpoint you could buy in any grocery store. It felt like a sword. At noon, I drove to a park. I sat on a bench and watched dogs pull on leashes. A father and daughter flew a kite that refused to rise. I tried to feel sad. I tried to cry in advance, so there would be nothing left. But my eyes stayed dry. The sadness had already burned into something else, something steadier. There is a kind of heartbreak that does not break you open. It makes you stand up. At 3:15 p.m., I parked across from Westbridge Gardens. The gates were dressed with white. A small congratulations banner hung from the fence. Staff moved inside like quiet bees. At 3:50, the chain appeared. I watched the guard carry it from the side door and loop it through the handles. I watched him slide the clear sleeve over one link and slip the paper inside. He looked around, checked his list, and nodded to himself. At 4:05, the white shuttle bus turned the corner. Laughter spilled out. Music thumped. The doors opened. My mother led the way. Now I was back in the present, my hand on the clear sleeve, my name in blue ink under the warning. My mother's face pinched tight like a fist. My sister's eyes were huge. The bridesmaids clutched their bouquets like shields. The groom, Ethan, stood a little behind them, hands in his pockets, looking pale. What did you do? My mother hissed. What did you do, Emily? I lifted the sleeve and tapped the paper again. I followed your rules. I said, I stayed quiet. I stayed out of the way. I didn't bother anyone. I didn't ask to be invited. I didn't ask for a dress. I did not even ask for a seat. I only asked for the truth. You did not give it. So I made sure this place would only open for someone who tells the truth. You paid for this, my father said, his voice low. Yes, I said. Last night. Final balance. I am the authorized signer. If I don't approve, they don't open. My mother laughed, but there was no joy in it. You think you're clever. You think this makes you strong. I don't think anything, I said. I know what you told me. You said I was not fit to be seen. So you hid the date. You told people, I make a mess of things. You wanted a perfect day. You will still get a day. But it will not be the one where I hide. The security officer stepped closer. Ma'am, he said to me, we're here because the venue requested day of verification. If you're the signer, we'll follow your lead. If you aren't, we have to clear the area. I am, I said, and I will verify as soon as I finish one thing. What thing? My mother snapped. I turned to my sister. For a moment, the wind was the only sound, whispering through the ribbon tails. I remembered braiding her hair when we were children. I remembered sharing a bed on storms nights. I remembered the time she broke my favorite seashell and lied to our mother. And I took the blame because she was scared. I remembered how she hugged me when I cried after my first breakup. I remembered all the good things. They mattered too. I will unlock these doors. I said, when you look me in the eye and tell me why you hid the date, not the fancy reason, not the limited seating, not the you get overwhelmed. Say the thing you said to Aunt Margie. Say the words you used for me. Then I'll decide. Madison's lips trembled. Her eyes slid to our mother. My mother shook her head, tiny and sharp, a warning. Don't do this, my mother said. Do not make a scene. I smiled, small and real. I'm not making a scene. I'm making a choice. Blue lights washed the brick again. The radios crackled. The security officer touched his earpiece. Copy that, he said softly into his mic, signer on site. Behind us, a neighbor peeked out from a porch. A little boy in a red t-shirt rode a bike, in small circles, watching like it was a parade. The world did not stop for our drama. It never does. But our world, the little circle of our family, felt like it was balanced on a pin. The groom, Ethan, finally stepped forward. His voice was calm. Emily, he said, please, we can talk inside. I looked at him. He looked tired. He looked kind, the way some kind people look when they are in love with someone who makes them smaller. You're better than this circus, I said quietly. You deserve a day without lies. I agree, he said. His eyes flicked to Madison, and for a split second, I saw something that looked like fear. My phone buzzed in my hand. It was Ms. Parker. I answered. Ms. Hart, she said, security says you're on site. We just need your approval to remove the chain. I will let you know, I said. We have a family conversation to finish. Understood, she replied. One note, if the doors are not opened by 4:45, the ceremony slot auto-cancels and the deposit becomes non-refundable. After that, the system books the hall for evening cleaning. I'm sorry, that's a firm policy. I looked at the time. 4:32. I lifted my eyes to my sister. You have 13 minutes, I said softly. 13 minutes to be honest. My mother stepped in front of Madison like a shield. You don't have the stomach for this, she said to me. You never have. You will cave. You always do. I took a breath. It felt like the first full breath I had taken in years. Watch me, I said. My father rubbed his forehead. Emily, please. Your sister is nervous. Your mother is stressed. We wanted a simple day. That's all. That's not all, I said. Say it. Fine. My mother barked. You want the truth. You are not fit to be seen at this wedding. You cry. You make everything about you. You stand in corners with that sad face and pull people into your gloom. You are a cloud. We needed sun. There. Are you happy? My chest went cold, then warm. Not because I didn't know she believed it, but because she said it out loud, in public for once. The bridesmaids flinched. The little boy on the bike stopped in the street. The groom closed his eyes. I turned to Madison. And you? I asked. Her face crumpled. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to pick between you and Mom. You already picked, I said. You picked when you hid the date. She nodded, tears catching on her lashes like rain on a wire. I did, she said. I'm sorry. My hand slid into my pocket and touched the small silver key I had brought, the one that would unlock the chain. My other hand held my phone. Ms. Parker still on the line, listening quietly. It would have been easy to drop the key into Ethan's palm and walk away. It would have been easy to feel big and leave them small. But the story was never supposed to be about crushing anyone. It was about leaving a mark they could not ignore, about empathy that is not weak, about kindness that has a spine. Ms. Hart. Ms. Parker's voice came again, soft in my ear. We're at 4:36. I looked at my sister. You can still have your wedding, I said, but you will have it with the truth in the room. You will have it with me visible. I won't sit in the back like a shadow. I won't sneak out before photos. I am family. If you want the doors open, I walk in with you. If not, we all go home. Your choice. My mother made a sharp sound. Absolutely not, she said. Madison stared at the chain, then at the paper with my signature, then at me. Can you stand with me? She asked, voice trembling. Just for the walk down the aisle? Not instead of Dad. With me. I opened my mouth to answer. And that was when the second shuttle bus pulled up, brakes hissing. The groom's father stepped out, and with him came a man in a suit I did not recognize, broad shoulders, tight smile, a clipboard in his hand. He walked straight to the doors, glanced at the chain, and then held up another key. I'm Daniel with Prime Event Security, he said loudly. We have alternate authorization to override the chain per emergency access clause. Stand back, please. The security officer stiffened. From who? He asked. From the original contracting party, Daniel replied. Paperwork came through 5 minutes ago. He bent to the chain. Don't, the venue officer snapped, stepping forward. We need to verify. Daniel ignored him and slipped the key toward the lock. Wait. I shouted. Every head turned. My heart slammed once, hard. I lifted the folder, opened it to the page I had highlighted in yellow, and stepped between Daniel and the door. My voice was clear and bigger than I felt inside. You touched that lock, I said, and this entire wedding is canceled for breach of contract. Daniel snorted. Lady, move. I raised the page high so everyone could see the rule. Only the authorized signer can approve day of access. That's me. Touch it, and you're trespassing. He hesitated. The security officer moved to my side. The radios hissed. My mother started to shout something I could not hear. The groom looked at me like I had just grabbed the steering wheel of a car flying down a hill. Ethan took one step closer, his voice tight. Emily, what do you want? I looked at my sister. I looked at my mother's hard eyes. I looked at the chain. I felt the small key in my pocket, like a tiny heartbeat, a little metal truth. What I wanted was simple. I wanted the doors to open on a day that did not erase me. I wanted them to understand that kindness does not mean you get to throw me away. I wanted my name, in blue ink, to mean something besides problem. My phone buzzed again in my palm. Ms. Parker, still on the line, spoke fast now. We're at 4:41. For minutes to policy cutoff, she said. Once it hits, I can't override it even if you ask. Time slowed. The air pressed close. The little boy on the bike stopped so still I could hear the tiny tick of his wheel. I reached into my pocket for the key, and right as my fingers closed around it, a hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. It was my mother. Her nails dug into my skin. Her face was fierce and bright with a kind of fire I had only seen a few times in my life, and never for me. "You will not decide this," she said through her teeth. "Not you." The crowd gasped. The security officer stepped forward. The groom shouted her name, and everything cracked at once. The security guard stepped forward fast, his hand hovering near his belt as my mother gripped my wrist harder. For a moment, everything froze. The guests, the music, even the wind seemed to stop moving. Then the sound of my mother's voice cut through it all. "You've humiliated us enough. Emily," she snapped, her breath hot against my face. "Let go of this nonsense before I forget you're my daughter." Her fingers dug into my skin. I could see the tremor in her hand, not fear, but rage. My whole life, I had seen that look. At school plays when I forgot a line. At church when I spoke too quietly. At family dinners when I brought up something too heavy. She was used to control. To everyone folding. To me folding. But I didn't fold this time. I looked straight into her eyes and said, calm and low, "Then forget." The guard quickly stepped between us. "Ma'am, please let her go," he said firmly. My mother hesitated, her nostrils flaring. Then she released my wrist and stumbled back like someone realizing too late that the world was watching. Because it was. The bridesmaids, the groom's family, the neighbors, all staring at the perfect family breaking right there in the parking lot. I rubbed the red marks on my wrist and turned to the guard. She touched the lock. I said quietly, "Please record that." The officer nodded, already writing something in his notepad. My mother opened her mouth to argue, but the groom, Ethan, raised a hand. "Mrs. Hart, please," he said. His voice was steady, but his jaw was tight. "Enough." My mother froze, hearing her soon-to-be son-in-law talk to her, like that was something she wasn't prepared for. But she didn't argue. She just turned away, muttering something under her breath. I turned back to the chain. My phone buzzed again. 4:43, Miss Parker said in my ear. 2 minutes. I slipped the small key into the lock. Everyone leaned forward, expecting me to twist it open. But I didn't. Instead, I turned to my sister. "You said you're sorry." I said, "But you didn't say why you let them do it. Why didn't you tell me the date yourself?" Madison's lips quivered. Her hands clutched her bouquet, like she needed it to keep standing. "I was scared," she whispered. "Mom said you'd make a scene, that you'd embarrass us." She looked up at me, tears spilling. "I didn't want to lose you too. I thought if I went along with her, it would be easier." "Easier for who?" I asked. My voice cracked. "For you? For her? You didn't lose me. You threw me away." Ethan looked at her then, really looked at her, and something passed between them that made her flinch. Maybe he was seeing something for the first time, because he stepped forward and said softly, "You didn't tell me you excluded her." Madison didn't answer. My phone buzzed again. Ms. Parker's voice sounded urgent. 4:44, Ms. Hart. "I'm sorry, but if it passes 4:45. "I know," I said. My voice shook a little. "Thank you." I slid the key back out. The lock stayed shut. I looked around at the faces, the guests arriving in their pastel dresses and suits, whispering in confusion, the groom's father frowning, the bridesmaids shifting uncomfortably, the photographers standing still, unsure whether to start shooting or not. Then I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "This door stays locked until truth walks through it." The murmurs grew louder. My mother hissed, "You're ruining everything." "No," I said. "You ruined me first." The clock on my phone hit 4:45. The security officer's radio crackled. Venue slot closed. Contract expired. Proceed to hold for cleaning. He looked at me. It's done, he said softly. They can't go in now. The sound that came from my mother's throat wasn't human. It was anger mixed with disbelief and fear, because she realized I had beaten her in the one place she thought I never could: control. My sister's bouquet slipped from her hands and hit the pavement, scattering white petals everywhere. Everyone just stood there, silent. The guard started to unclip his radio, probably to call for instructions, when my father finally spoke. "Emily," he said quietly, "you made your point." "No," I said. "I made my peace." I turned away and started walking toward my car. The wind blew the ribbons off the gate behind me. I heard someone start to cry. It might have been Madison. I didn't turn around. Halfway across the street, I heard Ethan call out, "Emily, wait!" I stopped, turned slowly. His face was pale, eyes full of conflict. "I'm sorry," he said, "for whatever they did. You didn't deserve this." "No," I said softly, "I didn't. But maybe this time they'll remember that." He nodded once, like he understood something deeper than he could say. Then I got into my car, closed the door, and just sat there, watching them through the glass, the perfect family standing in front of a locked hall, guests scattering like leaves, my mother yelling at the manager, my sister crumbling in her white dress. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel invisible. And for the first time in my life, they did. But as I started the engine, something unexpected happened. My phone lit up again. It was Ms. Parker. "Ms. Hart," she said, "I just received an alert. Someone tried to rebook the hall using your sister's name. But when we cross-checked the payment, it came from the same account that made your deposit yours. Did you authorize another transaction?" My blood ran cold. "What?" I whispered. "Someone used your payment credentials," she said. "We already froze the booking, but you may want to check your account." I frowned, my heart pounding. I had left my bank details with the front desk when paying. Only one person had been with me at that time, the assistant who offered to help finalize the paperwork. Her name flashed in my head: Brooke, my cousin, the same one who sent the wrong text. I looked up and saw her across the lot, standing near my mother, whispering something fast and urgent, her face pale and nervous. And that's when it hit me. Maybe the wedding wasn't the only secret my family had hidden from me. Maybe Brooke wasn't just following orders. Maybe she was part of something bigger, something that didn't end with a locked hall. Because as my phone buzzed again, a new text appeared from an unknown number. "You shouldn't have signed that paper. Emily, you have no idea what you've just inherited." My hand froze over the screen. The wedding might have been ruined, but the real story was just beginning. For a long moment, I just stared at the message on my phone. My heart beat, so hard I could hear it echo in my ears. "You shouldn't have signed that paper. Emily, you have no idea what you've just inherited." The words didn't make sense, not at first. Inherited from who? What did I even sign except the venue paperwork? I reread the message 3 times, then looked up again at the chaos outside the hall. My family was still standing near the locked doors, my mother yelling at the security guard, my sister crying, Ethan trying to calm her. But my cousin Brooke, she was gone. I scanned the parking lot. Her silver car was no longer where it had been earlier. That's when a cold feeling spread through my stomach. Something wasn't right. I opened my phone's banking app. My hands were shaking so much I could barely type the password. And then it loaded. $14,700 withdrawn. That was almost the full amount I had transferred for the wedding payment. My throat went dry. The withdrawal was time-stamped for 30 minutes earlier, right around the time I was standing in front of the chain doors. Whoever sent that text had already taken my money. I sat frozen in my car, watching the spinning icon on the screen, like it could change the number. Then another text came through from an unknown number again. You think they're the villains. You have no clue who really is. I looked up instinctively, scanning every car in the parking lot, every face. It felt like someone was watching me. Then I saw a black SUV parked just 2 rows away. The windows were tinted dark, but the faint glow of a phone screen flickered inside. And for one brief second, I saw movement, someone lowering their hand as if just sending a text. I started my car and locked the doors. But before I could drive away, my sister ran up to my window, her veil flying behind her like a broken flag. She was crying hard now, her mascara running down her cheeks. "Emily, please don't go like this," she said through the glass. I rolled the window down halfway. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I know we hurt you, but you've got to believe me. We didn't mean to steal from you." That word, steal. My whole body went cold. She knew. I opened the door slowly. "What do you mean, steal?" "Who said anything about stealing?" Madison blinked like she hadn't meant to say it. I didn't. Mom said you wouldn't notice." "Notice what?" My voice was trembling now. "Madison, what did you do?" Her lips parted, but before she could answer, my mother's voice rang out from across the lot. "Madison, get away from her." She was storming toward us, her heels clicking furiously on the pavement, the hem of her navy gown dragging through the dust. "Emily, you've done enough damage," she shouted. "If you have any decency left, leave us alone." But I didn't move. I stared at Madison, whose hands were shaking. "Tell me what she meant," I said. "Right now." Madison looked between us, between my mother's glare and my face. And something in her cracked. She covered her mouth and whispered, "It wasn't supposed to go this far." "Go how far?" I demanded. And then she said it, the thing that made the world tilt sideways. "Mom used your name to apply for the wedding loan. The venue, the dress, the catering, it's all under your credit. Emily, she said you'd never notice because you barely check your emails." My mouth fell open. "What?" "She needed good credit," Madison stammered. "You were the only one who had it. She promised she'd pay it back before you found out. But when you showed up at the venue, everything fell apart." My ears were ringing. The parking lot blurred for a second. All those documents, all that paperwork, I signed thinking it was just authorization for the hall. That assistant, Brooke, she had slipped more than one paper under my pen that night. I didn't just pay for the wedding. I owned the debt for it. I looked over at my mother, who was still marching toward us. "You used my name?" I said, my voice shaking with disbelief. "You put your whole wedding under my credit?" She didn't even deny it. She just straightened her dress and said, "You wouldn't understand. Emily, you never helped this family with anything. I did what I had to do. You stole my identity." I shouted, "That's a crime." "Oh, don't be dramatic," she snapped. "You're so good with money, aren't you? Always bragging about your business. You can handle one small loan." "One small loan?" I repeated, my voice breaking. $14,000. Mom, you used my signature, my name, to pay for a wedding you didn't even invite me to." She flinched at that, but still, she didn't apologize. Instead, she lifted her chin. "If you hadn't made a scene, none of this would have happened." And that was it. That sentence broke something inside me, because that's what my mother always did. She turned the knife and then blamed you for bleeding. I looked at her, really looked at her, standing there with her perfect hair and cold, perfect expression, surrounded by people finally seeing her without the mask, and I felt something strange, a mix of pain and power. "You're right," I said. "None of this would have happened if I stayed quiet. That's what you wanted, right? Silence." Then I took out my phone, opened the message thread with Miss Parker, and pressed record. "Ms. Parker," I said loud enough for everyone to hear, "I just confirmed that the contract for Westbridge Gardens was signed under fraudulent authorization. The person who used my name is standing right in front of me." My mother froze. "Emily, don't you dare." "Oh, I dare," I said. The guard beside me stiffened. "Ma'am," he said carefully, "are you saying you wish to file a report?" "Yes," I said. "Right now." Madison gasped. "Emily, please. Don't do this. She's still Mom." She stopped being a mother the moment she stole my name. I said quietly. The guard spoke into his radio, his tone changing from polite to professional. "Control, we've got a 10 to 90 identity theft claim, requesting local officers for verification." The look on my mother's face was something I will never forget, shock mixed with disbelief that I would actually fight back. Because in her world, I never did. In her world, I always walked away crying. Not this time. I took a step closer to her. "You told everyone I wasn't fit to be seen," I said. "Maybe you were right, because now everyone will see exactly who you are." Her lips trembled, but before she could answer, 2 police cruisers turned into the lot, lights flashing red and blue. Guests began whispering. Phones lifted discreetly to record. Ethan slowly backed away from Madison, his face pale as paper. I didn't know," he murmured. "I swear, Emily, I didn't know." I looked at him, then at my crying sister, and for a moment, something soft tugged inside me. Because even after everything, part of me still wanted to believe someone in that family loved me. But when one of the officers approached and asked, "Who's Linda Hart?" my mother straightened her back like a queen refusing to kneel. "I am," she said firmly. "And this is all a misunderstanding." "It's not," I said quietly. "You used my name to open credit accounts, to book this venue, and to take out a loan. I have the proof right here." I opened my folder, the same one that held every receipt, every email, every screenshot. Her face drained of color. The officer took the folder and began flipping through the papers. "Ms. Hart," he said to my mother, "I'll need you to come with us to clear this up." My mother's voice shook for the first time. "You can't do this here," she said. "This is my daughter's wedding." But it was too late. The officers were already leading her toward the car. Madison screamed, "Stop, please. Don't take her." One of the officers said calmly, "She's not under arrest yet, ma'am. We're just taking her to the station for questioning." My mother turned to me as they opened the car door. Her voice was hoarse. "You think you've won? You have no idea what you've just done." And maybe she was right, because as she sat in that police car, I saw her glance down at her phone, still clutched in her hand. Her thumb moved fast, like she was sending a message to someone. A minute later, my phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. "Your mother isn't the only one who signed in your name, Emily. You're next." I stared at the screen, my blood turning to ice. Whatever this was, it wasn't just family betrayal anymore. It was something darker, and I had just stepped into it. The police car pulled away, slowly, lights fading into the distance. Madison's sobs echoed across the parking lot, small and broken. Guests whispered, some filming, others backing away, afraid to get involved. I stood there, my phone still glowing in my hand, that last text burning in my mind. "Your mother isn't the only one who signed in your name, Emily. You're next." My hand started shaking, not from fear, but from confusion. Who could possibly have access to my identity other than her? And what did "you're next" even mean? The security guard beside me shifted uneasily. "Ma'am," he said carefully, "do you need an escort home? This looks complicated." I nodded slowly. Maybe that's not a bad idea. He gestured to another officer, and one of the patrol cars followed behind me as I drove away from Westbridge Gardens. In my rearview mirror, I saw Madison collapse to her knees, her white gown pooling around her like a ghost of everything that was supposed to be beautiful that day. I almost stopped. Almost. But then I remembered the $14,700 missing from my account, the fake documents I'd signed, the years of being silenced. So I kept driving. When I got home, my apartment felt colder than usual. The walls, usually filled with warm light and soft music, now felt too quiet, like they were waiting. I locked the door, double-checked the latch, then sat on my couch with my laptop and folder. First, I went through my emails. Hundreds of unread notifications, some from the venue, some from banks I didn't even recognize. One subject line made my heart stop. Loan confirmation. Congratulations, Ms. Hart. The email was from Brownsworth Capital, a private lender I'd never heard of. Attached was a PDF. I opened it, and there it was, my digital signature at the bottom. Same handwriting, same blue ink scan, same fake confidence. I felt dizzy. Someone had forged multiple financial documents under my name, and not just for the wedding. There were 3 different loans, all opened in the past 6 months, all under my Social Security number, and all deposited into accounts I didn't recognize. The total, over $82,000. My vision blurred. I covered my mouth and whispered, "Oh my God." That's when I saw it, the name listed as the accountant of record for one of the loans. Brooke Alcott, my cousin, the same cousin who accidentally texted me about the wedding date, the same cousin who worked at a financial firm, the same cousin who was conveniently at the venue office the night I paid the final balance. I sat back slowly, connecting the dots in my mind. My mother couldn't have pulled this off alone. She barely understood online banking. But Brooke, she had the knowledge, the access, the motive. And if she had access to my banking info from that night, then she was the one sending the texts. My heart raced. I opened my messages and typed quickly. Me, "Brooke, I know what you did. If you don't come clean, I'm going to the police." A few seconds passed. The typing bubble appeared, then stopped. Then, finally, a reply. "You don't understand. Emily, she made me do it." My breath caught. Me, who? My mother? "No," she replied. "Someone else. Someone who's been using both of you." Me, "Who the hell are you talking about?" No reply. I called her, straight to voicemail. I tried again. Still nothing. And then my phone buzzed with a new text. But not from Brooke. It was another unknown number. "Stop digging, Emily. You're already in deeper than your mother was." I froze. The hair on my arms stood up. My laptop screen flickered suddenly. A small pop-up appeared for just a second before disappearing. Remote session started. I blinked. "What?" I whispered. Then my cursor began to move, on its own, opening folders, files, clicking through my bank statements. Someone was in my computer. I yanked the Wi-Fi cord out, so fast the plug nearly snapped. The cursor froze mid-click. For a few seconds, I sat completely still, breathing hard, listening to my own heartbeat fill the room. Then my phone buzzed again. A new message. "Unplugging won't help. We already have what we need." That night, I barely slept. I sat in the dark with only my desk lamp on, flipping through every document I could find. My entire life, every bill, every tax file, every signature suddenly felt like evidence. Who were they? What did they mean by what we need? And what was it that I had inherited? The next morning, a knock came at my door. 3 slow taps, then silence. I froze. I wasn't expecting anyone. "Who is it?" I asked through the door. A calm male voice answered. "Emily Hart." "Yes." This is Detective Harris from the Cleveland Police Department. We need to talk about your mother's case. I hesitated, then unlocked the door. A tall man in a gray suit stood there, badge around his neck. His expression was serious, but not unkind. He stepped inside, taking in the room quickly. I assume you've already received some messages, he said quietly. I frowned. You know about that? He nodded. You're not the first, Emily. My heart dropped. The first what? He looked me straight in the eye. The first person connected to Linda Hart to be targeted. This isn't just a family dispute anymore. Your mother's finances were being used by a fraud network. We believe she was working with them, until she wasn't. I stared at him. What do you mean, until she wasn't? He sighed, pulling a folder from his jacket and sliding it across my coffee table. Inside was a photo, a printed still image from a security camera. It showed my mother, sitting in a dark office, across from a man whose face was half hidden. And next to her, on the desk, was a checkbook. My checkbook. We found this image on a confiscated hard drive from a cyber finance scam we've been tracking for months. The detective said, Your cousin Brooke is involved, but she's not the one running it. I swallowed hard. Then who is? He leaned forward, his voice low. The man in that photo. He goes by the name Mr. Kane. Who is he? Harris shook his head. We don't know much. He runs several fake loan networks across Ohio and Pennsylvania. But there's one more thing. He opened another photo. It showed me, entering the venue office 2 nights ago, handing an envelope to Brooke. In the background, through the window reflection, was the same man. Watching. You're not just a victim, Emily, Harris said. You're a witness. And if what we think is true, you're also holding something he wants. My stomach twisted. Holding what? The detective hesitated, then said softly, The contract you signed at Westbridge Gardens wasn't just a venue form. It was used to launder a much bigger transaction. Your signature gave legal access to a dormant trust fund, one your grandmother left behind 30 years ago. I blinked. My grandmother? He nodded. Yes, the same fund your mother thought was closed. It wasn't. The amount in that account, Emily, he opened the folder again, is nearly $3 million. My breath caught. What? And now, he continued, every single person who helped forge your name, your mother, your cousin, and whoever Mr. Kane really is, they all think you have the access key. I stared at him, my pulse roaring in my ears. The access key? He nodded grimly. Yes, the one embedded in that signature you used at the venue. I sank back into the couch, realization spreading like fire. That's why they had targeted me. That's why the text said, You're next. Because now I was the legal owner of something worth millions. The detective stood, straightening his jacket. We'll need to put you under protection until we get to the bottom of this. My voice came out barely a whisper. Protection? He looked toward the window, eyes narrowing slightly, as if sensing something outside. Then he turned back to me. Yes, he said, because if Mr. Kane's people know you're aware of the trust. A loud crack split the air outside. Both of us froze. Another crack. The sound of glass shattering. The detective lunged toward me, grabbing my arm. Down. Get down. We dropped behind the couch as the front window exploded, shards flying everywhere. Someone was shooting at us. And as I lay on the floor, heart racing, one thought kept echoing through my mind. Whatever this inheritance was, it wasn't a gift. It was a curse. Glass rained across my living room floor, glittering under the lamplight like cruel little stars. The gunshot echoes bounced through the apartment walls, followed by the deep, ragged silence that always comes right after danger. Detective Harris grabbed my wrist and pulled me lower behind the couch. Stay down, he hissed. His gun was already out, eyes scanning the shattered window. My breathing was sharp and fast. Who's shooting? Someone who doesn't want you talking, he muttered. Another crack tore through the night, a bullet lodging into the wall above the television. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Harris crawled toward the window, peeking out just enough to catch sight of the street. SUV, he said under his breath. Black, tinted windows. Same description we've had for weeks. My pulse jumped. The same one that was at the wedding. I said softly. He turned his head toward me, eyes widening. You saw it there? I nodded, trembling. I saw a black SUV parked 2 rows away from the venue. Someone was texting inside. I think it was him. Mr. Kane. Harris's jaw tightened. Then he's not wasting time. He grabbed his radio. Unit 4, this is Detective Harris, code red, officer under fire, civilian target. I need immediate backup on Maple and 12th. The static crackled for a few seconds before a voice answered. Copy that, ETA 3 minutes. Harris turned to me. We need to move. The back exit, now. He guided me toward the kitchen, crouching low. My knees were shaking so badly I could barely move. I couldn't move. Mr. Kane stood in the doorway of the cabin, calm as a man entering his own living room. The night wind blew in behind him, rustling the curtains and carrying the smell of pine and gunpowder. His voice was smooth, almost polite. Close the laptop, Emily. I did, slowly, every muscle in my body tight. He slipped the phone back into his pocket and smiled, like we were about to have a business meeting. You've made quite a mess, he said. Your mother was supposed to keep you out of this. My throat was dry. What did you do to her? She's safe for now, he said. Safer than Harris. Anyway, he thought he could hide you out here. I told him otherwise. He walked further into the room, his boots crunching against shards of glass from the broken lamp I'd knocked over earlier. The light from the hallway outlined his face, too calm, too composed. There was no madness there, just control. That made him worse. What do you want? I asked. He tilted his head. The key. I swallowed. The one for the storage unit. He chuckled softly. You still think this is about a storage unit? He took a few slow steps closer. No, Emily. The key I want is the access key. The one coded into your signature. The one tied to your grandmother's trust. I frowned. I don't even know what that means. He studied me, searching my face for a lie. I think you do. You've already spoken to Harris. He told you about the 3 million. My heart hammered. You were watching us. Of course, he said. I've been watching you for months. Ever since your cousin got careless. You used her, I said. She was useful, he replied. Until she wasn't. Something inside me broke through the fear then. Anger, sharp and clear. You destroyed my family, I said. You turned them against me, made them steal from me. He interrupted, his tone almost gentle. Your family destroyed themselves. I just gave them the rope. He stopped in front of the wooden table. The video on my laptop screen was frozen at the frame of him leaning over me during the signing. He looked down at it, amused. Do you know why you're so important, Emily? He asked. Because you're the only one who signed that document voluntarily. Your mother thought she could trick you into it, but you actually consented. That makes you the legal owner of the trust. I stared at him, trying to process it. Then why are you here? If I'm the owner, why not just take it? Because, he said, only you can unlock it. The system needs your biometric signature again. And if you won't give it willingly, he smiled thinly. There are other ways. He pulled a small tablet from his jacket pocket and set it on the table. The screen displayed a login prompt labeled Heart Trust Account. Sign, and I'll walk away, he said. You can even keep a little piece of it. Say, 100,000. More money than your mother ever gave you. I looked at the glowing screen, then back at him. He really thought I'd do it. He thought I was still that quiet, frightened girl who let everyone walk over her. But I wasn't. Not anymore. So I forced my voice to stay steady. You promise you'll leave me alone? He smiled. Cross my heart. I stepped closer, pretending to think. I just need to grab a pen. He gestured toward my purse. By all means. I reached inside, slowly, fingers brushing over the items until they found what I needed. Not a pen, but the small pepper spray canister attached to my key ring. When I turned back, I met his eyes and sprayed. He roared, stumbling back, clutching his face. You little. I didn't wait. I grabbed the landline phone on the wall, the one marked for emergencies only, and slammed the red button underneath it. A hidden alarm blared instantly, loud, sharp, piercing through the trees outside. Kane staggered toward me, still half blind. I swung the phone receiver at his head. It hit with a dull thud. He fell to one knee, swearing. Where's Harris? I shouted. What did you do to him? He groaned, wiping his eyes. You think you'll get out of this? That alarm only buys you minutes. Then I'll make them count. I said. I ran for the door. He lunged and grabbed my ankle, pulling me down. My knee hit the floor hard. The key in my pocket fell out and skittered across the wood. Kane's eyes followed it. There it is, he hissed. He dove for it, but I kicked him hard in the chest. He fell back, winded. I scrambled for the key, snatched it, and bolted through the door into the cold night air. The forest around the cabin was dark and endless. My breath came out in white clouds as I ran, branches whipping at my face. Behind me, Kane's footsteps pounded closer. Then headlights appeared in the distance. 2 cars. Sirens. Police, a voice shouted. I waved frantically. Here, over here. Harris stumbled out of the passenger side of the first car, bruised but alive, flanked by 2 officers. He saw me and ran forward. Emily, I collapsed into his arms, shaking. He's inside. The man from the video, he tried to... But before I could finish, a sharp crack split the air again. A gunshot. Harris shoved me down as another bullet tore through the trees. The officers fired back, ducking behind their cars. Kane burst out of the cabin, firing wildly as he ran toward the woods. Harris shouted, He's heading east. Don't let him get to the road. The chase moved fast, too fast. Kane darted between the trees, but he was bleeding now, limping. The police lights caught his silhouette as he stumbled toward a ravine. Harris aimed his gun. Kane, stop. But the man just laughed, a hollow, broken sound, and took one last step backward into the darkness. Then he was gone. The echo of his fall was the only sound left. Hours later, after statements and chaos, dawn began to break over the forest. Kane's body hadn't been recovered yet. The ravine was deep, the current below strong. They said it might take days. I sat on the back of an ambulance, wrapped in a blanket. Harris handed me a cup of coffee. His face was bruised, but he managed a tired smile. You did good, he said. You kept your head. I stared at the key, still clenched in my hand. What happens now? He looked out toward the trees. We'll secure the trust. Make sure no one else can access it. You'll have to give a statement to the federal agents. They'll want every detail. I nodded slowly. And my mother? He sighed. She's cooperating. Claims she was manipulated. It'll take time to sort it out. I looked down at my trembling hands. It always takes time. He studied me for a moment. You know, you could walk away from all of this. The trust, the money. You could let the state handle it. I shook my head. No, not this time. My grandmother wanted that money to go to family, to people who needed it. I'll make sure it does. The right way. He smiled faintly. You really are different from them. I gave a small, tired laugh. Yeah, I think I finally am. A week later, I stood outside Westbridge Gardens again. The ribbons were gone. The hall was quiet, but on the door, the same spot where the chain had hung, I taped a new note. It read, "Truth is louder than secrets. Emily Hart." I stood there for a while, letting the morning sun warm my face. For the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. As I turned to leave, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A new message. Unknown number. 3 million was just the beginning. My smile faded. I looked around the empty street. Nothing but wind and silence. But I slipped the phone into my coat pocket and whispered to myself, then let them come. Because I wasn't afraid anymore. Not of my mother. Not of Kane. Not of anyone who thought they could bury me. This time, I wasn't going to hide. This time, I was ready.